Yeah, now the loudest helicopter possible is going over my house.
Going out to the prison. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We are live. Hello, everyone.
All right.
Yeah. Meg, Ryan K, who in my brain is always Ryan K, RV, comma, UES. That's, I don't know. I guess
Spoken like a true time stamper.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And there's our friend, Mr. Tarantelli. Good evening, sir.
You know when you have to lock the door because your children are nearby? Or in this case, a small raccoon wouldn't leave me alone.
Oh, phone's on silent.
Hey, Mr. Tarantelli. Hey, Mr. Ballard.
All right. Hey, we're streaming live. Oh,
Hey,
no.
Chuck. Yeah.
Hey. The band's back together.
Yeah.
I heard a good analogy on OB today, actually, and it was prompted by a question from Mr. Tarantelli about putting in a constant speed prop, having the props forward at high power settings, and you're pulling your throttle back. You know, you should keep your manifold pressure over your prop RPM, but it's like downshifting in a car when you're going really fast. Is you're putting a lot of pressure on the engine. I thought that was a great way to describe why you do what you do.
Like engine braking.
Yeah. Except for it's a good way to destroy your engine.
We have to do that in our 94 Volvo because the brakes are totally shot in it. And also I think the carrier bearing is about to let go. So we do a lot of driving in low 2 around the neighborhood and letting the transmission slow the car down to the stop sign.
Yeah. Well, at least it doesn't make the sounds like the tractor trailers make.
Yeah.
It kind of does, actually. It kind of does. It makes some. It's making some. It's one of those things. You ever have that thing where when your car is making, you're kind of like you're wondering, is my car making that noise, or how loud is that noise from inside the car? And then you roll down the windows and go by, where you're near walls of some kind,
like a tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's coming back at you, and you just go, "Oh my god!"
So let me tell you how you know it's going to be yours, Brian. Is that your neighbor's going to put up a sign that says "No Jake braking."
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially in cities with hills.
Yeah.
Let's hit it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. What is it like to become a pilot in midlife? The challenges are unique, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences. You definitely should not take any advice too seriously from an aviation podcast that uses terms like icing on the vegetables. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Whether you're a seasoned pilot training for a rating or just thinking about getting started in aviation, we like to think of the podcast as your aviation companion and your weekly dose of aviation inspiration. My name is Ben, and I am an IFR-rated pilot with a commercial cert who maybe one day might have a multi-engine rating. We'll see. That remains to be seen. When I'm not training for a multi, I do fly a Cessna 182. I like to call the Beast. Joining me tonight, as always, my friend's a private pilot in Nashville, which is home of the Bachelorette Super Charlie. He flies a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. It's our friend, Mr. Brian Siskin. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hello, everybody in the chat, and hello, all you guys, and hello, Mark, and everybody. This is awesome. I'm excited about the topic tonight because I know that I'm going to learn something.
I think I'll be right there with you. Joining us from the left coast, based in Portlandia, flying the heck out of a flight-designed CTLS. We like to call it the Egg. It's our friend, Timestamp Tedder. Good evening.
Hey, glad to be here. Yeah.
Glad to have you with us. And then joining us, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ted.
I like that Brian joined us on the high wing side this week. So
Yeah,
we'll hear about that in a minute.
That. Yeah. And it balances out because I've been on the low wing side the last couple of weeks. So joining us tonight for another round, it's our friend One Dull Geek. He's our favorite person who should be a CFI. He could be a lawyer, a mechanic. He's our expert in all manners without officially being an expert in all those manners. It's our friend One Dull Geek. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay, but I take a little bit of umbrage with the lawyer comment.
It's what the world needs, one more lawyer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, can you? What is your? Do you have a particular case you want to make or argument about why?
Why did I feel I was walking right into that?
He'll be making a case for some other things later on in the podcast. I got a feeling. So that's, I think, where that's stemming from. Yeah, it's been a little bit since we caught up. Happy Labor Day, everybody. I want to catch up, see what you guys been up to. Mr. Siskin, I believe you have been reviewed and have been deemed acceptable. Is that an accurate statement?
I passed my non-pass fail flight review. So
every win we can get.
It's not a pass fail, but I'm calling it a win. Yeah. So what's been happening on my side is Lucy has had some things going on where, I think all of you guys and anyone else out there that's an owner can probably relate to this, but there's deferred maintenance and there's things that kind of build up on your squawk list, and then there's the things that you really need to do that are regulatory or safety of flight, and it is sort of an art form unto itself to try and keep up with all of those things and rank order them, and then how do you relate that to budget and timing and trips and intentions and all of that. And we always want to fly in the best weather, and this time of year is coming up on some of the best weather, but made the hard decision to just pull Lucy down for a minute. There was just too many little things, and I think that what you find is when you're trying to get this done kind of quickly before somebody wants to take a trip, or you find yourself in a place where things are not getting done as maybe comprehensively as you would like. And so you kind of sometimes have to step back as an owner and do things you don't really want to do. The plane could be made airworthy very quickly, I think, on just a couple of basic things. But when you see that list starting to mount and things kind of getting a little, I don't know, just not being seen through exactly, because not for anybody's fault, but just schedules and how there's a way you approach things from a comprehensive standpoint versus maybe some Band-Aids. And so made the hard decision to just go, look, we're taking the plane down and we're going to go through, we've got a lot of small things, and these squawks can be very small, as you know, they can be, a piece of interior is tearing and starting to sag, or we had a headset jack in the back that was just going wonky, and things that, I mean, we never really have I never have 3 passengers with me in the plane. Very rare. So the idea that the 4th headset jack in the position that no one really ever sits in, it's not that big of a deal, but there just gets to be a point where it's like those things start to add up, and you start to realize that you might need that extra jack for some unknown reason, or whatever it is, all these various things. So we're taking it down for some brake work and new battery and some other stuff. So, and then just a whole host of small squawks. So,
and I'm sorry to interrupt, but you could take the plane down 8 times during the year to take care of all that. Or you could just pull it down one time and just be done with it all.
Yeah,
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think about it, because we're about 6 months out from our annual. And I just thought, wow, maybe that's actually a good time, sort of an opposing annual in a way, where you get this pile of stuff and you do the things that you don't there's a lot of those kinds of things that you don't really do during an annual because you're just so focused on the heavy hitting stuff. And if you're getting stacked up with bills or things, it's easy to figure out what's to be deferred.
Right.
So maybe there's a nice place for a deferred maintenance block time.
Should we call
6
that the
months out.
semi-annual?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think that there's kind of some pride in ownership too, where you can say you only have one passenger in the back, and that's normal. But at some point, saying no, you got to use the jack on the other side it's the equivalent of just jiggle the handle.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like at some point, that's what it's about.
That's right.
This is not airworthiness, but this is pride of ownership. And
Yes.
if you are lax on those things, or you lax on other things, or is somebody going to think you're lax on other things?
That's right. And those things do add up. We had a problem with the PTT button on the pilot side, and there's just a bunch of things. And as we all know, those Swiss cheese things can add up in very small ways, So anyway, good to get all that done. But what that left me with was, I've got to get my BFR flight review, whatever they call it now. What do they call it now?
I call
just
it
flight
BFR.
review.
I don't care.
Just flight review.
Yeah, flight review. So I needed to get that done. And so, I had to bite the bullet, guys. I had to bite the bullet. Everybody get your drinks ready. You ready? I did a tail wheel flight review. All right. Cheers.
Enjoy editing that. Yeah.
I'm gonna add in some fizz.
But that's awesome, though. I mean, when was the last time you've been in the tail wheel?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was great. I have a lot to say about it. I mean, but I guess I'll try to keep it condensed. Really fun with our friend Ben, Tailwheel Ben, CFII and Tailwheel instructor. Drift Aviation is the name of his business now, out at Gallatin, Music City Executive Airport. Cessna 140. And it was just, man, it was so great to fly tailwheel and to do all those things. But I'll tell you what was really interesting was I had not been in a plane. I was going to ask you about this, Ben. I have not been in a plane that was other than my own flying, for a long time. And boy, did that kind of throw me off, because I just hadn't had to look to see. I didn't have everything be in a different place. I haven't had that in a long time, and it was throwing me off. What about you with the multi?
Go ahead.
I mean, that's it. Not only just trying to, hey, you need to turn the aux pumps off. Okay, where are they? I mean, it really felt that fundamental, at least for the first one or two times. The third flight, I started kind of figuring out where everything is. But to your point, when I get back in mine, I kind of settle back in, and then when I go back to the multi, then it kind of, again, it's time will fix that. But I totally get with what you're saying. It's like I don't even know how to taxi, and I'm trying to figure out where the master avionics switch is. And it does come at you.
So I was, and for me too, in the 140, he's got a 430 in there that's on the left side. So even just trying to tune radio frequencies with my left hand over on the left side was just, oh, okay, hold on a second. It was just those kind of goofy things. But anyway, the real story though is we had a heck of a lot of fun. Always learned some new things in that environment and that situation. Did some landing in the grass. Did some taking off in the grass. Did some all kind of things. But the coolest thing was flying the pattern, not using the yoke or just trim, power, and rudder.
Oh, nice.
And here's the thing, though. It wasn't coming from a standpoint of you have jammed controls, which has been sort of a thing lately, of course. It wasn't really about jammed controls and what will you do. It was actually just I found myself over controlling the plane, and that was the remedy to stop controlling the plane is basically I'm not allowed to control it. But it was so effective. I was curious about the reasons as to why I was over controlling it. I was fascinated to see how many Cherokee things I was carrying over and just I was not decoding. And so when you're flying a high wing versus a low wing Hershey bar airplane, I'm used to sort of muscling things, I think, a little bit more. It's kind of it's a little bit of a heavier plane. It's not nearly as twitchy as a 140. So that was the thing. I was over controlling.
Yeah.
Also, managing my speeds and all that. So basically, by the time we were about halfway through this lesson, I was doing. I don't think I saw he covered up the airspeed indicator probably about 20 minutes into all this, and I didn't see it again. I mean, it was still on, after we turned the plane off. So, so I was flying around with no way to see airspeed. No, I wasn't allowed to use the yoke, and the more things that were taken away from me, the better I was doing.
Did he put a blindfold on you? I mean,
well, he eventually said, "Just get out." I said, "Well, we're on final, but." So anyway, it was just it was a really interesting thing to see how much trouble I had adapting to just any other airplane, and then having that much over controlling going on, and then judging. I just realized how much I have it easy in a Hershey bar Cherokee, because you can just. There was one point where we did an engine out, and I actually just spaced even slipping. I was just like looking. I was like, why isn't this plane coming down? I got 40 degrees of flaps in. Like, why isn't this thing? I got no power in. Like, why isn't this thing coming down? Oh, right. Right, forward to slip. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Because the Cherokee just doesn't ever need it. So anyway, all that to be said, it was just a heck of a time. I really appreciated the instruction and the conversation and the just the experience, and it makes me really value the non-pass fail aspect of the flight review, because it really allows you to explore more things than maybe you would feel comfortable otherwise. And I think it's a neat thing that people kind of take for granted, or look at it as something to kind of skate through, or just as a reason to go get lunch with the CFI. And so that's my second BFR now. And, my first one was, hell on wheels with impossible turns and engine outs from every place in the pattern, and just all these, kind of chaotic, fun, but challenging things that I would never do on my own. And that's what I would leave to say to everybody else, is just to find ways to make your flight review challenging and make it worth your while. So anyway, it was a great experience. I'm so glad I did. It was awesome to fly tailwheel again. Awesome to fly the 140. And last note is, thank you. I don't know why I hadn't been aware of Skywatch.
Yes, skywatch.ai.
So, one of the challenges I've had as an owner is my insurance policy does not really allow me to go fly other planes, or doesn't meet the policy requirements of other things. And so to be able to just quickly and easily get a one-day policy was really cool. We're not sponsored by them, but we will allow them to give us free things if they want. But anyway, that was just a really cool thing. So now I feel I'll probably keep up a little bit more with that, and keep pursuant to tailwheel more, because it's just a little bit easier now.
That's awesome.
Actually, my flight review is due at the end of October. And instead of doing it in a tailwheel, I decided to do it in the multi. To your point, I feel like my brain goes into like a defensive mode. Like, there's all this information that's trying to rush in, and it wants to meter it. And, it definitely gets you out of your comfort zone. So the flaps don't have a limiter switch, so you have to count them down while you're doing 4 other things. The other thing that I found that surprised me is that the throttles, so I'm used to a veneer throttle. I could be very precise with how much throttle I put in and out. This you have to be precise, but there's just, you've got to be authoritative with it, but you also can't make big adjustments on it either. So it's just getting, I hate to say it, to simplify it this way, but it's just got to get a feel for it.
Yeah.
The last lesson, I completely screwed up the single engine. He just failed an engine without telling me about it, and I kept the plane straight, but my brain froze up. So he's like, "Which engine's dead?" I said, "Dead foot, left foot." He goes, "No, that's your active foot. It's your right." I couldn't tell my left from my right.
Yeah.
But I did the functions that I needed to do to keep the plane in straight level flight. I just couldn't iterate what or verbalize what I was doing. That's how much of a helmet fire I was in.
I'll put a link in the show notes, but I can't think of dead engine like that without thinking of the 737 where they misidentified the engine and flew the plane into the ocean in Hawaii. You confidently shut off power to the good engine.
In my brain at that moment, I thought dead foot means so you've got one foot all the way in. And I don't know why I just felt like that rudder is dead or that rudder pedal is dead because you haven't pushed in, when actually it's the other one, just the dead foot that you're not doing anything with. It's just hanging there. It's not actively doing anything. So anyway, and then the lesson before, we started to work on some landings, and again, it's a low wing, and I get why you low wingers like pattern work, because you can actually see the runway when you're on base. I do kind of, I get it. I'm not going to say I'm going to join you, but I do get it. I would flare, and you can't flare in these airplanes, not like you do in a Cessna. And as a matter of fact, I had a different instructor. She's awesome. And she's like, I could tell that was going to be a Cessna landing because you flared, 15, 20 feet above the ground. And so she said, keep the nose pointed at the ground. You basically just want to level out. And then right before you touch, you pull up a little bit. Well, I get with my original instructor and I pointed that thing straight to the ground. And he's like, whoa, that's a little too far now. So he had to take controls. It was not pretty. So
how many times did you fly this week?
I flew twice last week, and I got 3 scheduled this coming week. So the steep turns are getting a lot better. I've said it a million times. Repetition is the mother of all learning, and that's proving to be true. So it's been fun. Again, I can handle the flaps now. My pattern work has gotten a lot better. But as my subtitle here says, I am chair flying. I was given a great document, everything about the Duchess, what your throttle settings need to be in downwind base, all the things you need to do. And and then with my trip coming up, I'll have to be doing that again. So it's been good. I just would like to really get it wrapped up by the end of the month. We'll see how that goes. Ted, you posted a video. Again, it's go to on YouTube, go to Fly Sport. It's just artwork with a camera. With a video camera. It just was amazing. That going.
Is this the burger one?
Yeah.
It's it was so northwestern of you, Ted, because there's a lot of videos of pilots going to get hamburgers on the internet. But of course, yours is in this ungodly beautiful setting, but burger and coffee.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say because the name of the burger place was Twin Peaks.
Well, that was the other piece. Yeah, I haven't gotten to that.
Yeah.
But it was just, of course, it's like $100 burger and a mocha.
Yeah.
But we don't get a lot of videos from you with later in the evening. Still that's not nighttime, obviously, but it was really amazing.
I've been doing a little bit more flying toward the evening, and I've been trying to go out during the week and get a flight in, and knowing what my limit is and getting a little closer to it. Yesterday I wanted to get a little closer to it, and so I went and landed at a different airport and then came over to mine and it's fun. It's fun to see these almost night flights, but I wasn't planning on posting the video from that one. I only had 2 cameras running, but it was just so beautiful. And then I had to color correct it because 2 cameras facing opposite directions in sunset look terrible. And it's wrong in one point. When I'm on final, it goes from being dark to very bright, but I was like, it's close enough.
I've experienced that as well. Yeah. Where it doesn't look right. So, but whatever, but yeah, it was beautiful, man. It was, I don't know how, I mean, don't you want to come over here and fly around? There's some grass and there's, some hills and stuff. There's some trees. Sometimes you'll see really beautiful arrays of power lines that are in some sort of a kind of a constellation of infrastructure chaos that form some sort of beauty. Aren't you interested in that, or do you just want to stay out there where everything's just Windows XP desktop?
Mountains break your brain. For me, having the equivalent height in an antenna breaks my brain because I don't have that. Yeah. Which is
very good.
It's easier to see a mountain, put it that way.
Yeah.
Mark.
That is true. Yeah. Mr. Geek.
You posted a video today about
I did
flying
post a
through an
video
IFR
today.
layer. Yeah.
Yeah. It was filmed on Saturday, and I was reviewing my flight as I do, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is a really cool view. I'm going to turn this into a video, and I'm not going to spend much effort on it. I'm just going to put it out there because I thought
one view, with an exception that there's actually an insert, but it's basically one view, just one camera and good audio. And it was like, here it is. And that's what's so great. It's not 17 cameras and a drone and all that. It's just, here you go. Here's a video. Enjoy.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
I do miss the French horn music though. I mean, it just fits your personality, and
it also fits my name.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. I wasn't going to, announce to the world what your name is, but it's Mark French Horn.
Yes.
So anyway, hey Brian, what about letting our audience know how they can connect with us?
Yeah, so we're gonna get our belly scrub here, but we are going. I'm slowly peeling this back so that I don't have to read this like the FedEx commercial guy. And I know that it's a spiel, but I just want to pause before I even go through this thing, just to say thank you everybody who's been supporting us on Patreon, because it is absolutely the only way that we could do this. There are costs associated to this, and you guys help us really take care of that. And so it's not just trivial when we mention this. And we take it very seriously about how do we give as much value as we can possibly give for the returning that energy, to people, because and so that's why we work pretty hard to make all this extra content and all these other things, because people deserve to have that coming back at them. So anyway, with all that to be said, okay, hold on, I get the tears out of my eyes. Hold on a second. Okay. All right, I'm good. So we're grateful for you all making this the best pilot community that we know of, a positive space where we share everything from training experiences, share personal minimums, tackle ownership challenges, review flight plans, and best of all, make new aviation friends. By the way, love the Go No Go channel on Discord. It has been really good lately. There's been some excellent stuff in there for people to have a place to tell the tales of why they did a go or a no go based on what is so valuable for other people to learn about and listen to. So that has just been huge. But there's a lot of things on the Discord, but that's been one that's been especially good lately. You can join our Patreon community from $1 a month, or do a one-time annual Patreon, 25 cents per episode. So what that means, I guess, is we have on our website, you can support us on Patreon, but you can also do a one-time PayPal if you don't want to deal with Patreon. Either way, you're going to get exclusive content, including check ride debriefs, killing zone conversations, and more. 10% supports Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. And if you're not familiar with their mission, please go look it up and understand. freedomaviationnetwork.org is the place. They have a fundraiser coming up. And I think that I'm amazed to see. I was around when they were just kind of starting this project, and to see how much momentum and support that they've gotten through time, more pilots joining, more people finding ways to help out. It's not just about, flying survivors of human trafficking and their advocates around to get out of situations, but it's often the only way that people can get out of a situation. So it's really important that they get the support. And sometimes that's just straight up money and an airline ticket, right? So sometimes it's that kind of support. But they need volunteers and help from all angles. Please tell them we sent you. freedomaviationnetwork.org. Ultimately, we can try to give you our email addresses and all these things, but look, just go to midlifepilotpodcast.com. That's where you can access the community, send us feedback. We don't really get enough feedback. I don't know. I think it's because our Discord is so active, and we're so active in the Discord that kind of gets in front of that. A lot of times I tell people, like, that's amazing. Will you please just send that to us in a feedback? Because we don't necessarily want to read what you said on Discord and maybe a slightly more closed environment out in the more public sphere on the podcast. But anyway, send us feedback. You can send us a message through our website, midlifepilotpodcast.com. We have some merch. We have dad hats. We have koozies. We have buttons. We have fleeces. We have all kinds of stuff. The big seller the last week has been the big hit's been the 2 bounces and a skip shirt. So 3 log landings. Go get yours.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's I decided to make the whole thing longer. How about that, guys? But I just thought instead of just skipping through this thing and feeling like it's this obligatory thing, maybe we could just provide a little more meaningful context around why we're doing all these things. So thanks for everybody who's been supporting and chipping in.
I didn't know my stopwatch could go this high, for what it's worth.
Yeah. I'm going to figure out how to make it longer next week.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that we don't talk about during the episode are important, which is Freedom Aviation Network, our connection to them and the mission they do. The other thing is the merch that we have, and that, Brian, you spend time on creating, and we deliberately don't make money off of that. It's all it's kind of print on demand, so you get your color and you get your size and everything else. But there's some fun stuff in there. And now my shelf of T-shirts is completely full. It's been one of those summers. So.
I will send one of my 3 boys up there. They will help load for you, because they've stolen all mine. They've got no more to steal.
Hey, I got the Mike Echo Oscar Whiskey shirt at Oshkosh. I was so excited to wear it. It's meow. And I got home and I realized this size was a children's size, because of course, what adult would wear a cat meow shirt? So I have a shirt that's like, 4 sizes too small. Like, no adult would wear this. So yeah,
are you saying it got mixed up with your double XXL Hello Kitty shirt?
Exactly. Look, I would have ordered a kid's XL if I knew it was a kid's size, but yeah.
That's awesome. Ted, why don't we let everybody know who our new Patreon supporters are?
Yeah. So this week we've got a couple of new people at the Landomatic level. We have Scuba Steve. I feel like SpongeBob SquarePants was slightly after my age, but I swear that name is from there. Again, I feel too old to know that. No,
I don't know that it is or not.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think it's from a Ben or Adam Sandler movie.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember which movie.
Hopefully somebody will tell us. And Scuba Steve, thank you for joining us. And at the Hershey Bar level, we have John M. So thank you both for joining us. I noted some of the accomplishments this week, and I kind of collected a few of them. First one is Mark, your son had his first solo, Mr. Young Pilot.
Yes, yeah. Gabriel, who is actually listening. I told him that we were going to potentially talk about him, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to join and listen to this." So, hello, Gabriel, and Emma. Hello. Congratulations.
I think you said it in a private environment, so I don't care. I'll say it anyway. Which was, he's better at you. He's better than you at a lot of things, but you still are a more proficient pilot than he is. I would suggest stop flying with him now, because then he won't know. He'll always think that you are a better pilot than him. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that seems like a good relationship advice.
Yeah. We have Chris C. He's actually the other Chris C, since we have Chris C in New York. So Chris C in Michigan hit 200 hours, and he flew his wife to breakfast. In my mind, it's funny because they're both kind of at the same latitudes, and they're just Michigan to Western New York. It's like, it seems close to me. I know it isn't, but it's interesting. Yeah, he flew across one of the Great Lakes and got breakfast, which was cool, or across the bay of it. Russ H got his tailwheel endorsement in a super decathlon, which is awesome.
Yeah.
There was some real talk on Discord about toe brakes and heel brakes and getting your brain around that. And we learned recently, 3 minutes ago in the live stream, Phoenix Sales got their tailwheel endorsement this weekend. So it's been a big time for tailwheel. So happy about all
everybody
that.
can drink, right? It's not just me with the tailwheel problem.
Yeah. These two, Dom got his a few weeks ago. So yeah. We got some feedback.
Yeah. We got some reviews in, actually, and feedback. Brian, do you want to hit one of the feedbacks?
Yeah, we'll save one for the next.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So from our friend Mike Wood 123, not to be confused with Mike Wood 122, which we definitely can't have happen.
We got 122 others at least.
Yeah. He says, "Wow, I am not alone. As a midlifer thinking about a PPL, I was shocked to come across this podcast and community. I didn't know what I am feeling is a thing. I just thought I was some crazy old dude thinking about trying to squeeze in a decade or two of an awesome hobby that nobody in my life would understand. I'm hooked and love the perspective of the show. All the questions that come up are just the way that I would ask them. Great job." So thank you for that. Nice. Mike Wood 123. And yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's that, I don't know, it's just that special feeling of liquidating any kind of financial stability or children's inheritance. It's a special, warm, fuzzy feeling. No, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
You know, we all had, at least, I don't know if you did, Brian, but the rest of us had this like, wow, I'm not alone here. I've found my community. And Ben and I found it early on. Mark found it early on. And just knowing that there are others going through the same thing is yeah, it's great.
It's huge.
Very cool. We'll hit one more feedback and then we'll get to our main topic, which is kind of mosaic adjacent. It's build or buy or build, or steal or commandeer, whatever we need to do. But this feedback comes to us from Paul F. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say he flies an RV7A because that's what's in his email. He says, "I appreciate your discussion on the new Mosaic rules. One issue that I think you have not considered is how the insurance industry will react to these new rules. Just because the FAA says it's legal doesn't mean your insurance will cover you if you want to downgrade to just using a driver's license to fly. The new rules are wonderful, and I hope things really do get easier and cheaper to fly. But I know some older pilots that are required to get annual flight reviews and annual basic med physicals, not because the FAA requires them, but because it's the only way the insurance companies will write them a policy. I hope I am wrong." It doesn't take very long once you get into aviation to understand that either from an ownership perspective or even from a renter's perspective, the FAA says you can fly, but until the insurance company gives you their policy, then you shouldn't fly, I guess, is you want to be hanging out there. So yeah, the insurance industry does place. And as someone who is aspiring to fly corporate or something in a professional manner, they will not hire you because of the insurance companies won't cover you. So he does bring up a good point there.
On the other hand, there has been a bit of confusion around that, and generally the insurance companies are not the barrier to renting in the experience I've had. Age-wise is probably a different thing, but 100-hour private pilot, 100-hour sport pilot has not made a difference in my experience.
Right.
It's going to be interesting with Mosaic. All the caveats apply, but yeah, it's certainly another factor, right? And it's another way that you can divide pilots into less risky and more risky categories, and there's potential for this to be a more risky category if you think about especially much older pilots who may have trouble getting a medical. So it's a fair point.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we brought our friend Wendell Geek on because he kind of has intimated, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's kind of said, I'm not sure if I want to build. I think he wants to build, but does he want to buy? I guess the question to build or to buy was originated by you, Mark. And, I've always thought, if the beast happened to disappear one day and I no longer had access to it, what would I do? So I feel like this is a really good topic, and especially for our audience. I mean, a lot of us are, once we get our ticket, private or whatever the case may be, we're investing either in a flying club or in a plane or in something in that matter. So we wanted to start, go around the table, and Mark, maybe you want to set it up where you're currently at. That you would like to do something different in the near future than fly your Warrior, correct?
Correct. So the build or buy discussion wasn't really much of a discussion until Mosaic came around. Because once Mosaic came around, now all of a sudden there are performant airplanes that you can get that you don't have to build, right? That there is an opportunity to get into an airplane that I can maintain myself. I can go out and get a license called the LSRMI. I can't remember what the letters are, but light sport repairman with inspection authority, or with inspection something or another, and now it allows me to basically treat the airplane like it's with an awful lot of the privileges that I get if I built it, but not having to build it, right? So there's a bunch of airplanes that suddenly become a consideration now that that Mosaic has passed. Does that sort of explain the what I was thinking?
Yeah, I mean, to contextualize it, we've got people in our crowd that have built their own plane, which is great because now you can inspect your own plane. We also have people that have bought a plane that somebody else built. And when you do that, you can't inspect it. You can't do your annual. You have to go to an A&P. A lot of people go back to the original builder, which could be a lot of work to do. And the change in Mosaic that is very advantageous was extending the light sport repairman inspection rating to include EAB, amateur built planes. So if Ben built a plane and Mark bought it, this is the Ben plane from the Ben manufacturing company, basically. And Mark has no part of it. He happens to own it, and he has no real authority behind it. And they said very late with the LSRI, they said, well, if you can inspect a semi-certified plane, why wouldn't we let you do that to an experimental, which is further down on the safety continuum? Yeah. So that was the experimental community, EAA, and that world has been thrilled by that. The ones that have realized it, I think at this point, a lot haven't realized how big of a deal that is yet.
So two things real quick. One, can you imagine the 2008 Honda Accord that you sold 14 years ago? Yeah. That you've got to, it's like, this guy keeps calling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that part of it. I just think it's funny.
Ben would be like, Mark, I like you. but it's enough. That's enough.
I'm repossessing my airplane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, and the other thing is, real quick, and there's so much to get into. And I don't want to derail this conversation too much, but you've brought up a couple times in the last few episodes for our Mosaic conversations the term safety continuum, Ted, and I want people to be very clear on what that is, because it's essentially just a hierarchical rubric for threat analysis, I guess, or yeah.
Yeah, FAA has been using that for a little while, but it's become kind of in focus, not just because of Mosaic, but just in kind of the modern FAA world. They've been discussing things more in those terms lately. And what it means is if you're flying 150 people in a plane, safety is incredibly important. If you're flying just yourself in a plane you built, it's not as important. It's still important, but it's a one zero less that we're concerned about. Sorry, I'm thinking 5
Order of
nines and 6
magnitude?
nines. Thank you. Order of magnitude.
Yeah, just don't be a solo pilot that hits a bus full of 150 people. Is what
I was about to say it's just the people on the ground they're worried about.
So yeah, I mean, safety is still important, but
Right.
think about the difference between your Piper and a Boeing. Think about the difference between your Piper and my Egg, which is one step down on that list. They like that term, and so think about that term safety continuum and what it means, and you'll start seeing FAA using it in a lot of places. I'll link to Kennard Boulevard's video. It was called Mosaic, the huge gift that FAA for experimental owners that nobody's talking about. And he's talking about this exact thing. And yeah, so it's a good one. And by the way, this LSRI is a 16-hour course, so you can get it done on a rough weekend, on a hard weekend, and you now have inspection authority. So it's not like being an A&P where you need 1,500 hours of work, or whatever the hours are, working as an apprentice. This is something that's attainable.
Who is conducting these courses?
Rainbow Aviation in rural Kansas does it. And I think there's a second company somewhere in the South. Well, it's either in the South or in Florida. I don't know which that does it. But I expect there's going to be a lot more of those. And I expect, especially with that 16-hour course, that a bunch of EAA groups are going to get somebody like Rainbow Aviation to come to them, offer a seminar. They have 20 people that do it at home for the weekend, and everybody's certified, rather than 20 people going to rural Kansas to try and get it done.
Our local EAA chapter has actually got that scheduled, and I'm
fantastic.
going in November. There's Rainbow is coming to a airport around here, and there are at least 15 of us who are going to go take that weekend course.
Yeah. And it's not plane specific, right? Like,
Correct.
You now can, you could inspect mine. You can do an annual at mine at that point. Yeah.
Correct.
Is it similar to
Believe it or not.
Is it similar to becoming a Moonie in the 1970s?
Not the plane. That took me a minute there.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too.
I still don't get it.
We all get in a stadium and we all marry the dude. Whatever
yeah.
it is. Like,
It's just
the
one.
Moonies,
It's just
yeah.
one very intense weekend, and then you too can sell roses on the street corner.
But so this is really going to spawn a whole nother industry, basically.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's fantastic for experimental owners. This is for EABs. This is great. So
can we point this back at the sort of buy versus build, and so what you're kind of getting at is that previously there's been this kind of farcical 51% builder assist type of thing, and all this. If you're going to build a plane from a kit, that's a long craftsmanship commitment time for you. If you want to actually keep up your proficiency as a pilot, you need to have another plane or access to planes that you can fly, because you're not flying this thing that you're building. You're going to be doing this for a long. It reminds me of the movie Ghost Dog, where there's a scene where they're up on top of this building in New York City, and they're looking over at this other building, and there's this guy building a boat on top of an apartment building in New York City, and they're just looking at it like, how is he going to get that thing down from there? you know, that's sort of the poetic nature of the thing. But ultimately, that's how I view it. If you're taking on building a plane, man, you're on the long road, and so I would imagine for a lot of this, Mark, for you, it just really opens up the idea of getting aircraft that you can either participate in or not participate in, but either way, you can get things that are classified in a way that are not, the odds of you going this path versus a certified aircraft are wildly different.
Yeah, so I am actually thinking about building an airplane, and I'm not sure. I've got a number of airplanes that are potential, but one thing I know for certain is whichever airplane I build is going to be builder assist, because I don't feel confident enough to build completely from a kit.
Yeah.
And although I actually met a guy in North Carolina and went over and took a look at his sling that he built completely from a kit, and he spent the last 4 years building it, and it is just recently passed his testing, his post phase 1 testing is what they call it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel confident enough to do that. The reason that I want to build, though, as opposed to buy an LSA, is because I want to understand the airplane inside out. I want to know this is how this airplane was put together before I start tinkering with it, right? I don't know that I think that the 16-hour course is going to give me all of the confidence I have to like pull apart the airplane. I do feel pretty good about my mechanical ability. I am not scared of doing this, but I would very much like to have seen it put together in the first place with somebody knowing, oh, we've done this several times. We know exactly how to put this airplane together, and we'll help you. Now, that doesn't mean that this may not, whichever airplane I choose may not be my forever airplane. The next airplane may be something I build from a flat kit. I don't know.
So do you think, my question is do you think you'll do a builder assist at this point?
I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a build assist. It's just a question. The only question that is left is which airplane manufacturer. I don't know.
Got it.
There are some that are in the lead, and I'm being kind of coy and not saying which ones they are. But I don't know yet. It's all about trade-offs, right? And I'm trying to figure out what set of trade-offs I'm going to live with for now.
Got it. So you're not gonna share with anybody what you're leaning towards at this point.
Shared with Ted, I will say that Ted and I pretty much I run a bunch of stuff by Ted before I.
Okay, so this is great. So we're on a podcast with all of us together, and you guys are just sitting here talking about how you have your own little secret network of insights that you're not willing to share with everybody else. Well, that's super great. What other podcasts are you guys going to go on?
Okay, so
Brian, maybe you and I will create our own little network.
Yeah, let's make our own thing where it's like, yeah, man. Well, so let's see what else.
Okay. I will list off the 4 airplanes that I have in contention. There's one called an Ang Patriot. There's the Sling
Risen.
TSI, a TL Sparker, and a Porto Risen. Those are the 4 that I'm thinking about.
Now, the Risen was the one we saw in Texas that looks very flat. And it was a retract that's obviously an LSA with a V-tail, and it's crazy fast, crazy efficient. So when they flew across the Atlantic in like 45 gallons of gas at 180 knots or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
At a glance, just you going through those, it just sounded like you were at a store asking for vape flavors or something. It's like, what are these things? Like, what? Anyway.
Well, you probably recognize Sling TSI though, right?
Which one's more fruity?
He's referring to the vapes.
I couldn't figure it out either.
In past discussions, Mark, though, you've kind of this is not a debate on high wing versus low wing, but you said there is a point in time when the entry and exit of an airplane is markedly easier in a high wing. Excuse the play on words. I mean,
Well,
are you still thinking low wing or high wing, or have we not reached that
actually,
point?
so part
Oh no, he's cutting out.
He's cutting out.
The purpose of going to Oshkosh, he was saying,
Well,
was
so
to go
to go sit in the planes and to have his
have
wife
his
sit in the planes.
Yeah.
And because, you're back.
You're back.
okay.
So you went to Osh and you sat in the planes and you had your wife go and sit in the planes and you
Oh,
have
He's gone.
and you have different different priorities between the two of you, and some of those a two-seater is fine, but it also doesn't have as much space. But they tend to be a little faster and a little more elegant. So 2 and 4 seats is up for grabs. But the useful load is important because you need that's the thing about a Risen is, well, it goes fast, but you can't put anything in it. So those are all factors that come into play with that.
Well, it looks like Mark is in and out, so we're just gonna have to somehow survive.
Yeah.
I look forward to editing this very much.
No, but I do think it does give it and I'd love to hear back from our audience. We've been talking about Mosaic for a little bit, and I think we're now really kind of finding a good level of how much is actually changing. So if you're thinking about building or builder assist or whatever the case may be, let us hear from you and let us know what your thought process is. Let's let us hear from you.
Let's pop up what Ugly Cub said, because that's a great example.
Yep.
Mark, you want to read this? Or sorry, Brian, you want to read this?
Ugly Cub says, I did the Cub Crafters Builder Assist program and can tell you that I don't know much more about my plane than I would have if I had simply studied my documents.
I think everybody's going to be a little bit different, but what I will say is I watched, there's a young couple that just built a Bearhawk, and you could easily tell that they took a deep dive in it for the same reason that Mark wants to build or do a builder assist with his. And, they know their systems. And what I found interesting is they did a lot of the wiring for their panel themselves. They built their own harnesses. And he made the comment, this is Aaron and Paul are the YouTubers. And he's like, if something goes wrong with my avionics, I feel like I can get to the source of the problem very, very quickly myself. So again, everybody's going to be different. I'm not disagreeing what Ugly Club is saying, but everybody's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So Ben, I don't know if during all of that disconnection drama, if your question actually got answered, but regarding the high wing, low wing thing, I brought my wife to Oshkosh specifically to sit in airplanes, and she felt more comfortable actually getting into the low wings than getting into the high wings. It was easier for her. There was something that was simpler, and
Right.
The high wings that we tried were very high off the ground. They weren't like a Cessna 172 where it was just, stepping in. It was they were pretty high off the ground, and it was actually harder work for her to get into a high wing than it was to get into a low wing. So that sort of steered the direction of where we were going.
Got it. Very cool.
And I know that speed is important to you, but that's not everything either.
It is not everything. So the trade-off between being able to carry passengers and have space, because I want to use this as a travel machine. I want to be able to use it as a way to get around, and that means I need to have useful load. So the balance between useful load and speed is I really, if in my dream of dreams, it would be that 200 knot Porto Risen getting TED fuel mileage, right? TED gallons per hour. That would be awesome, but it just doesn't have it. It means removing the ability to take stuff with me, right? So it's all a bunch of trade-offs in that regard. which one I'm going to build. But I will say that the main reason that I'm trying to build is because I want to have intimate knowledge of the airplane. I'm confused by Ugly Cub's comment about not knowing his plane as much.
Well,
but
I've got to say that's a Cub Crafters thing, because the build assist is much more assist than build. So it might be a different story.
Well, part of it for us is like, one of the things that my wife keeps reminding me is like, so some of the ones that I'm going and looking at, they're like, we want you to come work on this airplane for 3 weeks. And it's a maximum of 3 weeks. Otherwise you just get in the way. Right. And that is not what I want. I want to be able to be there as much as possible, and for them to welcome me being there as much as I can be, so that I can, because I really want to know the airplane from the inside.
I think it's that balance between, do you want to spend 7 years on it, or do you just want to spend a week and a half?
Right.
With pencil whipping. Now, I texted you a picture the other day. My ground speed was 105. I had a nice tailwind, so I throttled way back, and I did this for like an hour. So this wasn't just a moment, but Ben, you'll appreciate this. I was burning 2.3 an hour, again, doing 105 across the ground, 45 nautical miles a gallon.
Jeez.
So, again, because of the tailwind, I actually pulled out flaps because I just needed to stay in the air and go as slow as I could and let the wind push me. But it's stupid. That's not standard.
Let's
it's
provide some additional perspective.
Yeah.
We've talked about the Beast, but the Duchess?
Oh, it's double beast.
22 aside.
Ooh, wow.
Yikes. And by the way, I know I made the comment about low wings and being able to see the runway on base. Mm-hmm. Here's what I don't like. There's 8 fuel sumps.
Yeah.
Well,
and I have to get on my back. I mean, I need one of those little racer board back things that they have in auto shops. So, it's a great discussion. And Mark, we look forward to hearing more about the decision when that time comes, because I'm sure that it will.
By the way, Michael Gillette had commented that it's been fascinating to watch Aviation 101 Josh do the TSI build assist. And what did he say? I feel like I understand the process much better, good and bad. I highly recommend that series that he's doing. It really is a great look into that process, and I've definitely learned a lot from watching that. I'm gonna see if I really want to get Chelsea's perspective on all of this, because while obviously Josh is great, and getting his perspective, and he's very involved. He's a total electronics nerd and wiring nerd, and is deeply involved in the build. There's something about I'm just very interested to talk to Chelsea from a AMP perspective specifically. So we'll do some reaching out and see if we can't arrange that, because I think that they'd be willing. And there's a lot of stuff going on with their build right now that's going to be it's happening. You know what I mean? Like this thing is it's going to be. And I think that Sling has done a great job of just showcasing how just familial and helpful, and what an experience that they've been having is beyond what I think a lot of people would envision.
It's a really cool facility there. I know that before we wrap, I know that Mark had talked about getting his A&P because he's been frustrated about not being able to work on his own plane.
Yep.
And the absurd lengths that you have to go to be able to.
I was actually
any changes.
Yeah, I was actually seriously considering going and trying to get my A&P, and then it seemed like, you know what, it's probably easier to build an airplane than to get the A&P. So
I've started logging my maintenance hours, because at least that becomes an option if you've logged how much time you've been spending on that. But
that's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody in the chat. It's been very active, and we appreciate you joining us. And if you're still listening to us on the audio version, you can watch us live on YouTube at youtube.com/@midlifepilotpodcast. Leave us a 5-star review. We would love to hear from you. And anything else, gentlemen, for the good of the order? I'm going to take that as a no.
Yeah.
That silence is a no.
Yeah.
Going a little bit to the more philosophical side on our little wit and wisdom. Don't, and this applies to Brian and his studying for IFR, maybe Mark, when you start your program with the EAA, it's don't let schooling interfere with your education. Signing off, episode 144 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, welcome back.
Hello.
You taking off, Ben, for a sec?
Bio break.
Yep.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, so we'll do it in shift just so we don't have to leave everybody alone. Yes, bit shifter.
Is that actually true? Because I had heard some conflicting information about that, whether or not it actually counted. And
There was an LOI at one point where they clarified that yes, it does. So it had gone. It was one of those had gone both. Yeah.
The one thing I didn't get to mention in the actual podcast is part of the reason that I'm wanting to do this is because of trading off, maintenance costs for insurance costs. Which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I didn't. We were running near the end, and I didn't want to.
I know there were a few paragraphs that I wanted to that I wanted to ask you about too, but yeah.
Is what it is.
We've got time. Yeah. I'd been through that sling facility when I had gone down in the week that Grizzly and I flew out to Catalina. I then went down the next day and walked through all that. And
yeah, and when you told me about that, you told me you talked to Jean, and I got nervous.
He gave me the tour. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got nervous that after your reports on that they were not going to want to be doing kits anymore, that they were going to want to just build airplanes and sell them after Mosaic came around, and that made me nervous.
Well, I think that they'd be better off not, but I think they're going to. And yeah, Pete, links aren't allowed on YouTube. I think they'd be better off not doing it, and it's really a pain for them to do it in Torrance because they build them there, then they truck them out to the desert to fly them. They can't do the initial flyouts at Torrance. So now the two-seaters are basically SLSA, right? They get built fully in South Africa, and they fly them off in South Africa and then break them down and ship them. How great would that be for SLSAs? So yeah. I don't think they'll get out of that business, but it is.
Well, for not on the general podcast, but for everybody here.
Nobody's listening.
The Sling TSI is the clubhouse leader. That is the one that's leading in the clubhouse right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm surprised that was true with Josh too, but yeah.
Wait a minute. Isn't that the high wing one though?
No, that's the Sling High Wing is the Sling High Wing. The Sling TSI is the low wing. And that was the one specifically that Julia got in, and she's like, this is way easier to get into.
So they're not allowed to fly them out of Torrance, number one, because the community wants to shut the airport down. It's a very congested area. There's nowhere to land in an emergency. I don't know which of those factors does it, but they're absolutely not allowed to do it. So I think they fly out to French Valley. Not 100% sure. I'm going to go take a break now.
Me too.
Good. Brian and I can talk behind y'all's backs now.
Yeah, that's right. Man, I was having some trouble today. Not trouble, but I was flaring high over grass.
Really?
And I think we were, okay, we were landing on grass. It was an area that they mow next to the runway in sort of a cooperative effort to accommodate. It's not really a grass runway. And so it's like, okay, we're going to land, stay clear of the taxi lights next to the runway on one side, and on the other side, stay clear of the culvert and that's off the edge of the parallel taxiway. And we're going to go between, we're going to land, we're going to take off and land between these taxiways. So it wasn't necessarily the most traditional landing spot, but I hadn't landed on grass in a minute, and I just realized that it gives me there's an illusion that happens where it's a little bit harder to judge your height, and I just hadn't done that in a while. So unfortunately, I didn't get to any wheel landings today, but I knew that he had a lot of confidence in me when I saw that he was taking some air out of the tires. That's how you know. That's how you know. That's how you know.
Hey, will y'all take a look at the show doc? And I didn't know if this was worthy of reading as listener feedback. It's under the review.
What's the question?
Yeah. No, I think it's great.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to do the typical thing of pulling last names so we don't forget, but yeah.
Michael Gillette says, bad joke. The midlife pilot said he was just, quote, stepping out for a short flight, but like his hairline, he never came back.
I think there's the your dad leaving joke in there too, but yeah.
Did we bring the review over?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Wait,
I copy paste it while you were reading the other one.
I don't see it. It's showing up as just a gray box.
I see it on mine.
That's on you.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
It's loaded. And so this is going to be episode 146.
146.
We are 2 weeks ahead now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this means after this episode, we will have 3 weeks.
2 weeks break. Yeah.
3 weeks?
2 weeks break.
2 weeks.
Come back on the third week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, Ben's going to have long, luxurious hair. We're going to be different people.
I may grow the beard back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only place I can grow hair, so I might as well. Okay,
Yeah.
Ted.
Yeah. All right. We
Let's
ready?
hit it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're like an hour 12 in.
Hour 12. Okay.
Cool. Here we go.
Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. What is it like to become a pilot in midlife? The challenges are unique, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences. You definitely should not take any advice too seriously from an aviation podcast that uses terms like icing on the vegetables. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share our experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Whether you're a seasoned pilot training for a rating or just thinking about getting started in aviation, we like to think of this podcast as your aviation companion and your weekly dose of aviation inspiration. I drew a blank there. It's not like I haven't done this
Super
almost 100
inspiring.
times.
Super inspiring, Ben.
That's inspiring.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm all about. Tonight, we're going to talk about finding an AMP, kind of adjacent to the last episode we talked about, and maybe a little lean of peak discussion. I don't know. We'll see what we get into. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ben, and I am an IFR-rated pilot with a commercial certificate based in the metro Atlanta area, flying a Cessna 182, sometimes called the Beast. I'll be taking her out on Wednesday of this week.
Nice.
Yeah. Joining me tonight, as always, he's a private pilot. He's in Nashville, Tennessee. He's living right there on Music Row, which is the home of the Bachelorette Super Charlie. He's flying tail wheels. Everybody drink. He also flies a Cherokee 180 named Lucy, and his name is Brian Siskin. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. And I was wondering if I should. I like the Bachelorette Super Charlie term that I came up with that I like to take a lot of credit for. But there's also a part of me that kind of wishes I would have made it the Woo Girls Super Charlie. The Woo
That's
Girls.
a strong candidate, but I'm not sure everybody would necessarily completely get it as easily as they do the Bachelorette Super Charlie.
Well, in the same way that a lot of us midlifers maybe are, driving a Corvette, wearing New Balance
cargo
sneakers,
shorts.
With the tucked in shirt and all that. There's a Bachelorette uniform, and you know them when you see them. You can tell they've got their white boots. They've got their whole thing. And maybe Mark, you come to Nashville sometime. You can get a cowboy hat and join in and be right in the mix.
I don't really feel like I'm fit for Bachelorette, though.
It is pretty amazing. When we did the fly-in there last year, we hear that it's the Bachelorette capital of the world, but when you drive down Broadway, it is just clumps of people, and they're all Bachelorette parties, all just moving from one location to the next. There's no other people there other than Bachelorette parties, it feels like.
Including on the airplane. Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you make your culture a Disneyland for binge drinking. So, anyway, super glad to be here from Nashville, and glad to be here with you guys tonight. And also, I'm super excited about this topic because, and I hope that we get a chance to really, I don't know if you guys remember, but we did this non-event fly-in when we went to go see the OG midlife pilot Chris Moran at his airport in Fairmont, West Virginia. Pepperoni rolls and all. And I will never forget the conversation that we had outside of his hangar where Mark was going through his very special flying technique that he swears by. And I want to make sure we get into this because I want to know what everybody thinks about it. And Mark was going to take me up in my plane and show me how this works. And then there were some mechanics on the phone that said, I don't know if this is the thing. So Mark, you guys stick around for this podcast because this is going to be Mark proving this out as the way that he flies. And I think this is going to be fascinating. So stick
He's
around.
Shaking his head. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how this plays out.
This is going to be great.
Let me introduce our friend. He's a sport pilot based in Portland, Oregon. He flies a Flight Design CTLS. We like to call it the Egg, and we call him Timestamp Tedder. Bringing that back, Ted. I like that description of you.
Yeah, it works well. Yeah,
it does.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. Joining us in the hot seat tonight, apparently, thanks to Mr. Siskin. He's the most Midwestern North Carolinian we know of, but we only know about 4 people from North Carolina, Brian being one of them.
I am.
It's our friend Wendell, also known as Wendell Geek, also known as Mark. Good evening, sir.
Hello, also known as not an A&P. So,
right.
Yeah, Ryan absolutely nailed it. The third rail of aviation discussion, lean of peak. I agree with that. And I'm feeling a little bit, after Brian's introduction there, I'm suddenly gotten nervous. I'm like, why did I agree to do this?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love it. By the way, that's a good show title right there. The third rail, lean of peak, the third rail of aviation discussion. This is fantastic. Thanks for that, Ryan.
Yes, I think we have that title. We're recording a doubleheader tonight, as if anybody cares. But Ted, we did talk a little bit about your Sunset Burger.
Yeah.
But I did want to hear a little bit more about the desert camping because the photo that you posted, again, I feel like it was AI generated, but I'm sure it wasn't.
Modern cell phone night photography is fantastic. The moon was about a third full And now I know next time I go out to the desert to go when there's no moon, so that I can really see the stars. In the Northwest, you don't see the stars a lot because there's always clouds. And so I went to lower right-hand corner of Oregon where there is nobody, and went to the Alvord Desert. It is 6 miles wide, 10 miles long, dry lake bed. And that's 10 miles sounds like a bit. That's 60 square miles when you think about that. And there were other people there, including some people that decided to take modern muscle cars and got them stuck in the mud and whatever. There were 2 other planes, and I found them on frequency about my 4th try on frequency. So you've got 5 fingers. You also got 4 fingers as a frequency, and that's where I found them. And so it was great once we could coordinate how we were flying so that we didn't have to worry. We just flew in a circle. And so I spent quite a bit of time, just playing, because there's no restriction on your altitude. You just have to stay away from the handful of people that are there. And I learned that when you get below about 50 feet, especially about 40 feet, that's when you can feel this cushion. And it was amazing to sit there and fly for a couple of miles and just get the plane into that and really feel, what's it called? Why can't I think of that term?
You're repeating a ground effect. I think
ground effect. Thank you. Yeah. And it was like, you got to that, and it's like there was just a cushion underneath the plane, and it was so cool to just feel that.
So are there any designated runways, or is this just a dry lake bed you land where the wind?
It's all a runway.
Yeah.
And there wasn't enough wind, so we were just kind of landing in any direction. And I did the thing where I landed about 6 times in a row, going up about 500 feet and then back down, up, back down, and everything else, and had a lot of fun with that. So there aren't many chances that you get to do that, and it was so cool. So yeah, did that and spent the night out there. It's a alkaline lake bed, and that means there are alkali flies there, which I hadn't thought about. Basically, like brine shrimp are in that same category. So there are a bunch of flies around. They don't bite, but it was kind of annoying. But
right.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Just be out there in the middle of nowhere, and
nice.
No cell signal.
How far a flight was it for you from your home airport?
If I went from home, it'd be about 3 hours. Okay. So it's not bad. I've never been there because it takes so long to get there, and RV campers and like van people like going out there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to go there.
So you burned a grand total of 6 gallons. I'm sorry, Brian. You burned a total of 6 gallons of gas going out there impact then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Looks amazing. Yeah, there's something about just everybody's in such light polluted places. You know, when you can get to any place where you can see the stars, it is always just a good feeling. And then, you know, when you think about all the money you spend on aviation and how the bills are piling up, but then you look out there and you see we're just stardust, man. You know, and they can't they can send all the letters they want to my house, but I mean, what are we really, man? You know.
Well, hopefully I'll get a video out by the time this episode drops, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, it's so good. You're really in the promised land for so much aviation. It's kind of ridiculous. Also, I'm jealous of all for whatever reason, every little airport out there, the runways are all basically just the width of sidewalks, and I love that. I don't know what it is. I wish that there were more bizarrely narrow runways out here.
Yeah, well, that's what broke my brain when you said that. Basically, which it's a great thing, but when you go literal cross country, that you try to land at deltas because there's always services. It's like, man, there are not many deltas that I land at. So it's just different. So yeah,
very cool. Well, wanted to go ahead and get into our topic tonight. The chat's already kind of getting involved with it as well, but you know, I had an experience. Fortunately, it wasn't with me or my A&P, but I was involved with a person who was having to shop for an A&P, and he or she, we'll keep them anonymous, had been using this mechanic, and the problem was they'd had him for a while, but it was taking them 3 or 4 times to fix the same item. In other words, they would drop it in saying, "This is the squawk." They would render it fixed and then come back and they would have the same problem. And then 2 more times after that. And so they kind of felt like it was the A&P saying, "I've got too many other more profitable customers. And so we're going elsewhere." And that's just something that I think as aircraft owners or co-owners, as it were, that's something we really have to kind of be mindful for. And not all of us have the luxury of having a mechanic on the field that we can use on a regular basis, that we have to fly somewhere to have our plane worked on.
Yep.
And if you're going to do that, I guess it at least opens up the world for a lot more opportunity. So we wanted to open up the discussion tonight. I'd like to hear from you guys how you went about picking a mechanic that you're using. And is this the only one that you've had, or has there been other experiences that we can maybe provide our audience who are typically midlifers? We get some young folks that own their aircraft, and they're having to go through this for the first time. I'm hoping that maybe can find some value in this.
Yeah, some people here are as young as 31.
Yeah. Which, they still were born in the 1900s, but
true. My situation's slightly weird just because of the SLSA and being in a Rotax, where technically any A&P can work on it. Most of them are not thrilled by it. When I was buying the plane and going to the airport I was at, the main mechanic on the field said, "We do not work on SLSA, period. We work on experimental, we work on certified. We don't want to deal with that." And that really kind of set me on that path. And especially trying to find somebody who is an expert on a plane there's only 200 of in the US. I had found somebody that everybody liked, and he was basically medically retiring out of being a mechanic. And so at the very last minute, in the same month my annual was due, I found the shop that I'm at, and it turns out, and it said Checkmate Barry's Airport. They do quite a bit of Rotax work. They, I think, had seen a flight design before, but they'd done enough things that were similar that they weren't afraid to work on it. So that's a different situation than you're in, where everybody has seen every Continental and every Lycoming that exists. There are only 12 engines in planes, basically, that exist. But that's one more factor that goes into this.
Definitely. Mark, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, I find the psychology of the whole problem to be fascinating in terms of even as it relates to cars. I have a couple of old Toyotas from the 80s, and you would think this is a no-brainer for a mechanic. This is some of the easiest stuff you can work on. There's room to work on it, and these are pretty simple 4-cylinder engines.
Yeah.
And finding people that will work on them is nearly impossible, because we have reached a point where true mechanics are less and less, and people that are following scripts of just parts replacement as a means of solving problems, and throwing parts at a problem to solve it, and using diagnostics as a way to justify that without having a really holistic sense of what's going on, or sort of forest for the trees kind of things. Like, it's hard to, when I see a mechanic take a long screwdriver and put his ear up to it, then I go, okay, this guy actually understands what's going on. When he's just like, well, the data just says this, and so we're just going to replace this. It's just a totally different thing. So you see this I see this with cars. You definitely see it with airplanes. And there's all kinds of ways that this can go. For our situation, we were very lucky to find we have the partnership kind of formed before me had befriended this particular mechanic. And even though he actually kind of hates pipers, I think, in a lot of ways, he also said that the autopilot that he installed in our plane was in his 50 years of being a mechanic, the most PIA thing he'd ever done. All that to be said, he's great for certain things, but you have everything's got a different scenario. We've got 3 mechanics that we work with. So we have one that's kind of our friendly guy that when he's available and it's the right job for him to do, then great. And that can range from a lot of things. I mean, he's helped us with a lot of things. But then we also have the mechanic that's on the field that's good for certain things. And then there's a mechanic at another airport nearby that is, to me, the guy that when it gets down to carburetor rebuild type things or that level of work, then his shop is probably better for some of those things. And they all have their pros and cons in terms of how fast are we going to get this back? How confident are we going to be that this is done the first time? How much is this going to cost? Because some are very friendly to us and kind and benevolent, and they pity us, whereas others just run their playbook. And so that's been our situation. Mark, what's yours?
Well, so when I owned the Cherokee 140, I found a mechanic that I really liked. And the main thing I liked about him was that he let me help him work on the airplane. In fact, he encouraged it. He wanted me to come help. And he was a natural teacher. He really enjoyed. He had 3 apprentices, AMP apprentices that he was working with all the time, and he still has AMP apprentices that are always working with him. And so he encouraged me to jump in and monkey around with the airplane, and that I really, really liked. And he taught me things, and he'd say, hey, this is why it does this, and this is where. So I have pulled the prop on airplane. I have re-rigged the ailerons. I have just taken apart. I have taken off, disassembled the carburetor, installed a temperature probe in it, put it back together, and put it back on the airplane under his supervision. And so that guy he's my favorite guy in the whole world. He's fantastic. When we went to the 235, we had a guy that has been doing the annuals on the 235 for a long time. And so it was a very different experience working with him. He is very much of the opinion that he came from a military background, and an awful lot of the military folks, they have this idea that they're in charge and they tell us what to do. And that doesn't really work so well for me. I find that to be troublesome. So the relationship with him is, I'm not involved in that relationship anymore. I can't be. I just can't be involved in that relationship with him. There's one guy in the partnership who works with him great, and he works with him. So we do our annuals with him because he's had a history of the airplane, and I don't want to take the airplane to a new mechanic who is going to say, hey, I haven't personally inspected every single one of these AEDs, and so now we got to go through incredibly expensive. So we stick with the guy who's doing the annual. I just don't work with him. But whenever we have any sort of non-annual type maintenance, we go to the guy that I worked with on the 140, and he's always wanting me to help him. He's always saying, hey, do this, turn that. And I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. There's so many mechanics that are, there's that whole thing of owner assisted annuals versus not. And I'm so glad that we have somebody that encourages and teaches and wants us to be a part of that. And it helps us reduce the cost massively. And if he's not available, then we have to go to another one that's going to be wildly more expensive. So, but that's interesting, especially when you're talking about through the prism of the partnership dynamic, where you've got people that own different parts of maybe different types of maintenance and are fronting the process with different mechanics at different times. So it's not just like one mechanic for a plane. Yeah.
Well,
right.
I want to underline that about kind of why we, especially I, really promote partnerships for midlifers that are getting into flying and want to buy a plane, because when you get into a partnership, there is a hangar and there is an A&P who knows the plane. You're not trying to figure this stuff out from scratch. And it may not be the best hanger or the best A&P, but wow, that's a lot better than doing all of that yourself. So there's a huge advantage to that. And Brian is a textbook example of that, where the partnership came with a hanger and it came with an A&P, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I want to echo that, because like our partnership came with an A&P too, and we're not switching off of him for annuals, right? The cost of switching to him off of him is expensive. We are switching off of him for sort of ad hoc work that we do periodically, but the benefit of getting of sticking with the same A&P that has been with the airplane for a while is really high.
So just so I can throw my 2 cents worth into this, we've had basically 2 mechanics since we got the plane in 2017. The first mechanic was awesome. Worked on a lot of Cessnas. He didn't have a hanger to do his work at McCollum, but he did all of his work. He didn't have a hanger anywhere. He would just come to you in a truck with all the tools and everything he needed. And we would, the folks at the FBO would allow us to use a hanger for 4 hours or 3 days or whatever we needed, whatever the work required. So it was pick up the phone and call him, and he would put it on a schedule, and we didn't have to do anything. He would have it towed. It was really nice. Unfortunately, he died in a plane crash in his plane.
Oh,
yeah. On takeoff, he lost his prop.
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was terrible. So we found our current one, and he made a comment. I was out at the airport the other day, and sometimes just go by there and check in with him. But he made the comment. He goes, I approach an annual. I approach all maintenance. It's got to be safe. That's always going to be the top priority. But I know that my customers don't have endless funds. Yep. He's working on piston airplanes. There's some twins, there's single engines, but he goes, I try to spend your money the way I would want to spend my money. And so if it can be deferred or it can be done in a different manner, if he doesn't have to send out for an OEM part that he can fabricate himself, he's going to do it. And he's done that throughout the entire time. So we feel we're there. We're not using anybody else. He's just our guy. And then for an oil change or that, we had an oil change done at Fredericksburg.
Yep.
Those are, would love to give them that business, but sometimes it's just not practical. So we use a guy on our airport, and they do a good enough job, and it's an oil change, and plane's still running. So we really got no complaints.
Well, let me hit Virgil's comment here. He said, talking about the advantage of partnerships, he said, even better when the partnership includes an A&P. That's kind of the aviation 101 thing, which is if you're looking to date, perhaps date an A&P.
Yeah.
We should have thought of that. That's a great way to get into this.
I'm taking a little bit different tact. I've actually spawned a child that's going to be an A&P.
There you go.
So
and you married into a plane. So
and I married into a plane, or technically my sister married into a plane. But hey, again, lucky on both counts.
Well, you guys want to hit some of the formalities, and then we'll get back into this. And I want to I want to make sure we turn the corner too to get into this Lena Peak thing with Mark, because I can't wait.
Yeah, you want to hit belly scrub for us?
I can.
Mark, did you say you could do the belly scrub?
No, I can wait.
Oh,
I thought he was volunteering for it, and then he
went the belly scrub.
Then he went straight on mute. It's like, I'm volunteering to do it, and I'm out of here.
Yeah. Mark's gonna start doing the. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. What, honey? What?
Exactly.
Oh, what? Well, okay. You get the fire extinguisher. I'll be right there. Hey guys, I gotta go. So, housekeeping, belly scrub. We're grateful for you all making this the best pilot community that we know of, a positive space. We share everything from training experiences, share personal minimums, tackle ownership challenges, review flight plans, and best of all, make new aviation friends, connect with us, join our Patreon community from $1 a month, or do a one-time annual Patreon, 25 cents per episode. Access exclusive content, including check ride debriefs, killing zone conversations, and more. 10% supports Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. Share your stories with us. Just go to midlifepilotpodcast.com and you can send us a message and you'll probably hear yours on the show. For everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, community feedback, merch, and more, visit midlifepilotpodcast.com.
Very
Excellent.
good.
I saved something I wanted to talk about in the Discord community. OG Chris C, New York Chris C, and so I'm going to read a little bit of what he said because it's easier than summarizing it. He said, just got back from what I would consider my first successful flight with my wife. The flights we've tried before, she suffered from anxiety and nausea, but she did great this time. We flew up the St. Lawrence River and overflew some of our favorite summer weekend spots. She really enjoyed picking up places we like to spend time at. Even after one of my worst landings in a while, flared too high, dropped down a little hard, she was excited that we did it and looking forward to doing more. A great day. That is awesome.
That's huge. That's a game changer in my opinion. When they're looking forward to the next one, that's a glorious day.
That also reminds me of you, Ben, because it's like, this was a terrible landing. And she's like, yeah, whatever. It was fine.
Yeah.
And that's
just like the rest of them.
It's the phrase I try to use. It's fine. Like
they're just so glad to be on the ground. They don't care, man.
Yeah, exactly. No parts were left behind.
When your wife looks you dead in the eye and says, "Thank you for not killing me,"
I'm sorry, I had a similar experience with my wife to Chris C, where we had driven to Wisconsin, and then for reasons had to go back, and the mechanism was flying back, and she looks over at me about 2/3 of the way there and says, "This is so much better."
Game changes, Mark.
Yep, the game changes.
Well, Brian, we've got some feedback, actually a review. Do you want to read that from Mountain Rat Matt?
So just so you guys know, you can leave us 5-star reviews only on Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcasts takes our reviews from you, and then we read them here. It's a very simple throughput, input, output. So just go to Apple Podcasts and just leave the review, and then I will read it just like this. Mountain Rat Matt says, found it. If you are midlife and working on your PPL, thinking about it, or certificated, this is the podcast for you. I found this podcast a while back and look forward to it every week. The Discord makes it even better. It is a great resource for those of us not necessarily in our early 20s on the career track who just enjoy flying and the activities surrounding flying. Give it a listen and see for yourself. So thank you for that, Mountain Rat Matt. And it's been cool to see your journey and to hear about all the things that you've had happen that are wonderful in your journey, Mountain Rat Matt. So cool to have you in the Discord, and thanks for the review.
Yeah, he went through the tail wheel journey. So
that's right.
It was a great moment. Andy H also wrote in and he actually addressed it to Ben. So Ben, do you want to read that to us?
I'd be glad to. From Andy H. He says, "Hey Ben, just passed my IFR check ride today. Glad to be one of not very many like you. There's probably different reasons he doesn't want to be like me, and that's completely understandable. I now can follow along with any IFR talk on the podcast. Have a good weekend, and thanks for giving me something to listen to when I go to work. Good job, Andy H." And again, that instrument rating, Brian, I'm not picking on you when I say this, but it does. It's a whole new world.
And
yeah, I'm all for it, man.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. If you guys want to start a GoFundMe and get me my instrument rating, then let's do it. But I am tired of people telling me, guys, like, Brian, you really should. There's only one barrier between me and an instrument rating besides the feeble brain power that I can offer that kind of study, and
that's a pretty big barrier.
Sheer economics.
Yeah.
So I've had it with people telling me, you really should get your instrument rating. I want my instrument rating. Okay, rant over. I was inspired by you, Mark.
Can we?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, well, Brian, you really should get your instrument rating.
Gonna have you, write out a cardboard sign and put out the cup, and be at an interstate exit, and just need my IFR. Yeah.
So private pilot, need my IFR.
Yeah. Did I tell you I'm a pilot? Yeah. So we're talking about A&Ps, and one of the things, I don't know if you've got this in a concise format, if you've ever thought about it in this way, Mark, but one of the things I've kind of gleaned from you is there's care and feeding of your A&P, but there's also the ground rules of dealing with the A&P, which is, this is my plane. I'm giving it to you to perform an annual. This isn't a blank check. So
that's right. So, yeah. Well, so I don't know how. I don't know if I've got it in any structured. It's structured in my head. I haven't sort of written it out. But in most states in the U.S., when you bring your car to a mechanic, they are required by law to give you a written estimate, itemized list of everything that they want to do, and a written estimate of the cost before they do any work. And then you sign something that says, hey, I authorize you to do this work. In the aviation community, that isn't the case. That is not the way that it works for aviation. There's no law requiring that.
So Mike Bush wrote an article in 2003 called Time and Materials, and I'll link to that, which is talking about this problem.
Yeah, which is where a lot of this is. I am an acolyte in the school of Mike Bush. I am a big fan. So
I would say you're probably more of a bishop, or maybe a Monsignor than that. I think you're undercutting yourself.
Bishop or a rook? Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he basically, the idea is that rather than require the federal government to say this is, or a state government to say, hey, you have to do this if you're an airplane mechanic. What I do is when I am bringing my airplane to a mechanic, I say, I authorize you to do this. I expect a list of course I say it nicer than this, but the gist is I expect you to give me a list of what you found and what things you need to work on, and an estimate of what it costs before you do any work. Please do that before you start doing any work. And that helps me get a handle on the cost of work that is done. Because it puts some limits on what can happen. Because my first annual was before I started reading how to have an annual. And my first annual was much more expensive than I budgeted. It was just way more expensive. And some of that, a non-trivial part of it, was because the IA decided, hey, this needs to be done, and I'm just going to do it, rather than having a discussion with me about what it was that he was going to do, and and why, and if there were alternatives to doing that sort of thing. So from that point forward, I started saying, hey, let me write out in advance, this is what I would like you to do. Please inspect the airplane. Here are the symptoms that I see. Before you do any work on it, have a conversation with me about what it is that you think is going to happen and what you think needs to happen. And then we'll have then I can evaluate whether or not I want that to happen. And so I set that up as ground rules with the A&Ps that I work with. And I will say that the guy who is the A&P for our 235 is not really receptive to that. He doesn't like it. He's not a fan. The guy that we go take the ad hoc work to, he's great. He loves that policy. And it works great. But the guy who does our annual is less thrilled by that. On the other hand, the guy who does our annual does, at the end of the annual, provide this exact list of what I'm asking for. So it's I'm a little confused by that guy, but those are the ground rules.
I think I asked you to send that to me, and it was after my first year of the annual, where I had to find the shop in less than 30 days because of the aforementioned A&P medical problem. But the shop had started doing a bunch of work on the plane, and the Rotaxes have a gearbox on top of the engine, and that's why they run at such high RPMs. Is the gearbox reduces that. You have to remove the gearbox and send it to somebody authorized for an inspection and rebuild. And it depends on if it's an early serial number, if you're running low lead gas, more than 30%, and anyway, so there's a whole matrix of those. And
can I just interrupt for 1 second just to say, for those who are listening that are renters, just that's like what Ted was just saying.
Run away. Yeah.
It's like
Keep renting.
when you can just do the the squawk and walk.
Yeah.
Just that's it makes it sound pretty good. I mean, ownership is great, but hey, you're not having to package up gearboxes and send them to people and
be down for a month and not concerned. So the plane had less than 600 hours on it at the time, the plane itself. And I told them, you're wrong. I think it needs to be sent at 600 hours. It's in this category that needs to be sent at 1,000. They were looking at an older version of the service manual that didn't indicate that. And they were also not reading it in the very precise but odd way you have to understand this or this, else this, with the, like where the parentheses end up on the else's. So I found out in this first annual that they had it already off the plane and boxed up to send away. And I happened to talk to them right then to find out they'd taken it off the plane. And I was like, no, because it's under 600 hours. It doesn't need to be sent until 1,000 hours.
It's like
That's
not
a
only
huge difference.
Not only is he not an organ donor, he's not dead.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that they were gonna. We'd had a little bit of that conversation about how many hours, and I thought they were gonna follow up with me before they did anything. And they're like, "Oh no, we got it. It's all done. Don't worry about it." It's like, "Oh no, we got a problem here." So they had to call Rotax to figure out what was correct there, and then they reinstalled it on their own dime. And so after that, I knew, and that's when I talked to Mark. I'm like, I got to deal with this different. And so the next year, we're really on a really good relationship. I deliver booze, and they do favors for me sometimes. But I didn't need to have them sign something. But I did have them read it, which was, please send a discrepancy list and itemized repair estimates to my email. Do not begin work other than below until we talk. And I had my list of small squawks to deal with. And so that's an example of the sort of thing that you need to keep in mind if you're considering buying or if you own a plane and your incentives and their incentives don't line up. This isn't an issue of safety. It's choosing what needs to be worked on and what can be left alone.
It's not an easy thing to. I mean, it is definitely, sometimes you have to get confrontational with them and you have to tell them this is, how it does. I do think it's, a great conversation. I do listen to the podcast, Ask the AMPs with Mike Bush, Paul Dean, and what's her name? Connie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mark, weren't you on their show?
I'm going to be on the show. I had a call in with them that was recorded a few weeks back, and it hasn't been released yet.
Colleen Sterling.
That's it. Thank you.
She is amazing.
Wow. Yeah, she's great.
She is amazing.
And Paul is kind of in your neck of the woods, Brian. He's in Tennessee. I can't remember exactly where, but anyway. And by the way, plug for them. Yeah. Savvy Aviation is kind of the gold standard. They're kind of your AAA. Correct me if I'm wrong, of aviation. But Brian, you wanted to get into a little more of a debate, I believe.
Well, just so the whole thing is, when this whole subject was put forth for this episode, Ted made the mistake of calling this lean of peak in a kind of gesture kind of way about
that was the appendix of the show. Yeah.
But I just thought, well, no. This is like I was bringing up earlier, I promised you guys would get this. Mark, you have the floor. I would like for you to explain to the world what you tried to explain to me and tried to have me do. And this is a process that you do when you fly, and it is sanctioned and it is fine and it is good and it is born of the Mike Bush thinking. But I find it where my brain can't. I can't do it.
Okay, so here's how I fly my fixed pitch propeller airplane. I wish I had a constant speed prop airplane to sort of maximize this, but I don't. I have a fixed pitch prop. So the way that I fly is I try and get the so I have in my POH a set of power things that basically says here is 65% power. I try to fly at maximum 65% power. So for example, at 8,000 feet, 65% power is 2450 RPM. So what I will do is I will go full throttle and then pull the mixture back to control the RPM. And that will slow the RPM down to about 2450. And then I fly there. That is 65% power. And I try at as many altitudes as I can to be wide open throttle and using the mixture lever to control power.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that broke Lord Alpha Juliet's mind. The idea that when you're
Broke mine too.
When you're at, let's say, high altitude, don't need to define what that is, that the element that you need to control is the fuel, not the air. So instead of controlling with your throttle, which controls air, you can control with the fuel. This is somewhat separate from the lean to peak argument.
Well, not really, actually, because so there are two regimes under which the engine operates. The engine can operate lean of peak or rich of peak. And those two regimes are very, very different. When you are lean of peak, by definition, what you have is an excess quantity of air and a limited amount of fuel. So essentially, fuel molecules are looking around for air molecules. And in lean of peak, the scarce thing, the thing that is in short supply, is fuel. So you have an excess of air. You have an excess of air. And so adding or taking away air when you're lean of peak doesn't do anything. Adding or taking away fuel does, because that's the thing that's rare. When you're rich of peak, it's the exact opposite. In the rich of peak world, you have an excess fuel and a scarcity of air. So to increase power in the rich of peak world, you add air or take away air. So
I've got to say, Ryan Kruger.
He's getting warmed up, boys. He's rolling up the sleeves.
Ryan Kruger is saying, "Can I get an amen?" I did the same thing. Yeah, it's this is unusual to some people, but the idea of basing it on fuel rather than air is actually a thing.
Right. And so the thing about the rich of peak, lean of peak debate is the fear that the biggest problem with engine maintenance is cylinder head temperature. And cylinder head temperature is a problem because it is a proxy for internal cylinder pressure, which we can't measure directly. We can't. Internal cylinder pressure is when you are at high internal cylinder pressure, that is the worst thing for the engine. And the only way that you can really measure that is via cylinder head temperature. So high cylinder head temperature generally means high internal cylinder pressure, which is bad. The worst place, the most stressful place for the engine is approximately 50 degrees rich of peak. That is where you end up with the highest cylinder head pressure. Richer than that, the cylinder head pressure or cylinder head temperatures go down. Leaner than that, cylinder head temperatures go down. And this isn't just me talking. This is Lycoming. On page 3-6 of every Lycoming operator's manual is this graph that shows that peak cylinder pressure or peak cylinder temperature is about 50 degrees rich of peak. So I asked a question on my YouTube channel once that said, if you were operating lean of peak and you were concerned about high cylinder head temperatures, what should you do? Lean further? Richen a little? Oh, those were the two options. Either lean further or richen a little. And the answer is lean further. Because if you are lean of peak already and you lean further, that will bring your cylinder head temperatures down. If you richen a little, you're going to go straight into that peak cylinder head pressure point of about 50 degrees rich of peak, which is the worst place to be. If you want to richen and bring your cylinder head temperature CHTs down, you have to go way rich of peak. You have to go closer to 100 degrees rich of peak to get your cylinder head temps down. But that issue doesn't come with problem free. By doing that, by being way rich of peak, you have a whole bunch of excess fuel that isn't getting combusted. It's getting shot out your exhaust pipe, and that some of that fuel is getting partially combusted, which is what fouls your plugs. The partial combustion of the fuel fouls your plugs. So I like to operate lean of peak because I know when I'm lean of peak, all the fuel is getting combusted, and the excess thing that's getting thrown out the tailpipe is air. And that doesn't do anything to the engine.
So counter argument is fuel is cheap. It's not quite as cheap as air. Air's roughly free for us, but fuel is cheap compared to replacing my engine. So
right.
Why don't I just run rich peak and pay a little bit extra in fuel?
Well, because you can run rich of peak and pay a little bit extra in fuel, but the real thing you want to try and preserve is cylinder head temperatures. You want your CHTs down. When CHTs are down, that is the nicest you can be on the engine, and it is easier to have lower cylinder head temperatures lean of peak than it is rich of peak. And there are costs to having low cylinder temperatures on the rich of peak side, which is fouled plugs and all kinds of problems that come along with that. So for me, it really is a, what are you comfortable with? But it's also like, when I look at it, it's, you give up a little bit of power, because when you go rich of peak, you do get a little bit more power for the same cylinder head temperature. So on the lean of peak side, you give up a little bit of power, but man, your cylinders are clean. The bore scope images of your cylinders are so clean. Your spark plugs are clean. It's great. I'm a big proponent of lean of peak. And now I say this fully with the understanding that I am not an AMP. But I would, the guy at, I really wanted to ask that AMP when we were in Fairmont. I really wanted to ask him that question, but I didn't want to I didn't want to pick a fight over the phone.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think is interesting. How people get really worked up about this stuff, right? Like it's constitutional or something. But the other part of this too, that I think is fascinating, is that, and one thing I'm grateful for is that my mechanic always reminds us that the POH, or the AFM, was written a very long time ago, and we have learned a lot of things since the 60s, and so it would be foolish not to take those learnings into account. And Lycoming is carrying on those conversations and has grown that knowledge, and other companies as well. And then you've got this strange point where you have to modulate current knowledge with what you feel comfortable with. And I think that a lot of us are lower hour pilots that are really concerned with procedure, and this is the way I've always done it. And if anything, the conversation, without necessarily choosing a point of view, is really about encouraging people to get involved with your mechanic, do more reading, obviously check out any resources you can find, and see for yourself. But that's part of what this whole quest is. Also, renters, squawk and walk, baby.
Yeah.
Flying club members the same.
Yep. So flight club members. Yep. So if you'd rather not have to try to understand what Mark just said, because I struggle, and I'm doing a lot of smiling and nodding while I'm trying to keep up. and I'm gonna have to take notes, and then I gotta go study this later, and then the tears are gonna fall, and then I give them the paper, and then it's a whole thing. But yeah,
I wanted to hit a few comments.
Yeah.
Ryan K in our office says excess fuel gums up the engine and leads to sticking valves, which I have heard that before. Also, our friend Michael Gillette says Mark is running lane of peak as well as his engine. So I felt. And then also one more from Chuck in the chat says, this is why Mike and Paul push an engine monitor system so you can actually see what's going on. You can monitor the CHTs. And I agree. You don't actually have to spend a lot of money. We have a JPM in ours, which is just a little bar graph, and it has a digital readout, but
it's very 1989 looking,
as is everything else in the cockpit of the
I
Beast.
thought you were going to talk about Chuck's other comment. I bet Mark stayed at a Motel 6.
Because they'll leave the light on for you.
Don't knock Motel 6 and the upgrade, which is Super 8. Like,
that's right.
These are valid places.
Amen to that.
No, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. Let me tell you that.
Ooh,
that is where I stayed.
Well, it's not all free. Like as a renter, one of the times I hated was I was flying with a friend. I'd gone out to the coast, and the RV12 I was in, the plugs loaded up, and it did not want to run. It was giving a lane fault, which is like a magneto error. And I called back to the owner of the plane, and he said, well, you just need to run it hot, which is true. That burned off a lot of it. And he said, just circle and climb up over the airport and then fly home. It's like, well, great. So now I just had to spend a lot of time on my dime to fly his plane back home and worry about if there were going to be any problems with it. So it's not all free, right? Like, this isn't just the cost of fuel. It's the cost of everything else that can go wrong. Yeah.
Yep. And some people don't even have the luxury. Our friend Howard has a Cessna 140. He says it didn't come with a mixture control. Wow. It was optional in 1946. That said, it is being added as part of the annual. So
yeah,
I think Mark would maybe have a nervous breakdown not being able to control the mixture.
How would I control power?
Exactly.
So let me
He's still on the runway somewhere.
I'll explain to you how it's done in the Rotax injected world. When you get above 97% throttle, it goes rich a peak. As soon as you pull it back below that, it goes lean a peak. And the difference in gallons per hour is huge because, of course, I've got all the instrumentation. But that difference is just it's amazing on what that does. It also means, I mean, you're supposed to only stay at 100% for 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
But it's amazing if you pull back during the climb, what a difference that makes.
So Ted, what you're saying is that the Rotax has a give it the beans setting and then everything else.
Yeah. It's the get me away from the ground so that I have time to fix my errors.
Yeah.
Give it the beans, which means 8 gallons per hour.
Yeah.
I mean, let's keep perspective here.
Yeah.
It's been a great discussion, and I want to thank everybody in our chat for joining us. Mark, we do appreciate you joining us.
Yeah. Good stuff, Mark.
Well, thank you for letting me get that off my chest.
Yeah.
Yes. And we'll be, hopefully we'll hear you on the Ask the AMPs podcast here.
Yeah. And everybody send your feedback and be very impassioned and opinionated and convinced that your path is the best path. And then we will read competing opinions because that's what Richard Peak, Lena Peak does to people. It's gold for content, right? Like let's get it going.
And we're hoping.
Yeah. Subject line: Mark is wrong.
I'm hopeful maybe one day we could get one of those guys on the podcast as a guest host because I think they would appeal to a lot. Again, you can leave us a review. We'd prefer 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Send us some feedback. Tell us what you think. We're going to be out next week. That's why we did a doubleheader tonight. Anything else, gentlemen, that you want to get off your chest?
No, thank you for this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thought I would provide our wisdom from the tailwheel world in honor of Brian. I can't remember if I've done this one or not, but I don't think so.
Oh, good. I got a drink left for saying tailwheel.
Yeah, here we go. Tailwheel pilots don't land; they negotiate with the runway. Signing off, episode 146 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Thank you, everybody.